welcome everyone for day 5 of Sharpen Your Intelligence. Thank you for making your time to be here. Okay, so today we are going to talk about the second part of emotional intelligence. If you can see my screen, can somebody please indicate that you can see my screen? Okay, thank you.
Yes.
Right. Okay, so just to recap, we had gone through 5 components of emotional intelligence: self-awareness, self-regulation, empathy, social skills, and motivation. And then we had looked at the ABC model of cognitive behavior therapy. Most of the time we think that, the consequence of something, the way we behave or the way we feel, is because of an activating event. But the fact is that there's a belief system in between, and either it is rational or irrational. And so based on that belief, whatever event happens is the way we will either have emotions, or either we will behave in a certain way. So we looked at 4 cognitive distortions. The all or nothing, there's no in between. It's either this or that. Then we also looked at overgeneralization. Just based on limited factual evidence, we apply it broadly. Mental filters, we tend to just look at maybe one factor when there are several factors that play into, say, a situation. And disqualifying the positive, there may be positive things about something that happened, but we discredit them and look at only the negative and give more value to the negative. So those are some cognitive distortions. We are going to look at another 6 of cognitive distortions today. So let's begin there today. And also we had looked at characteristics of kindness and social intelligence. All right, so jumping to the 5th cognitive distortion, which is mind reading. Now, yes, it's it's important to be able to look at facial expressions and grasp the emotions that someone may be going through, but that is not mind reading. Okay, that is something else. So in mind reading, we are jumping to conclusions, and we think that what I think that person is thinking is the right thing. And it has been shown that with regards to strangers or those we don't know very well, there's only 1 out of 4 chances that we can guess right what somebody is thinking about. And for those we are very close with, right, like family and best friends, people that we share a lot with, and who share with us, in those cases, it may be 4 out of 5 chances that we can assume correctly what they're thinking about. But there's a lot of chance that we might assume wrong. And so it's very dangerous to hold that what we may be guessing as absolute fact, that someone is actually thinking about it. We are not mind readers. Okay. So some situations may be like, oh, this person has tried to quit drinking alcohol so many times, and now he or she is trying again. I know they're not going to be successful. Because we've seen how they've been reasoning out things, and so now we are jumping to conclusions, also based on what has happened in the past. So the risk of mind reading and jumping to conclusions is that there's impaired communication. We are overlooking or disregarding important details. And of course, we are coming to incorrect conclusion about a person, and that's not the right thing to do. Now, we cannot judge people's motives. We can judge behaviors, but not motives. Okay, and mind reading seems to be easier than collecting facts, right? It takes some time to think about what I'm going through or what somebody else is going through. Of course, it is somebody else because this is mind reading somebody else's mind. Um, and just to, just come to a conclusion like that, that is easier. But to actually think through things, to talk, um, to maybe listen to other people's experiences of similar situations, that takes effort. So remember, mind reading is one of those cognitive distortions, and all of them are dangerous. Okay, the next distortion is fortune teller's error. Thinking that we can accurately predict the future, right? Um, for example, you know, I could say that um, I this mathematics exam coming up is difficult. It's going to be difficult. So what's the point of study? And so I'm not going to study. Um, so we need to also remember that these irrational thoughts, these crooked thinkings, as we term them, need to be straightened out for our behavior and our emotions to be right whenever we have certain events occurring. Okay, then the seventh one is magnification or minimization. So in this, we blow things out of proportion or we diminish their significance, right? One thing about magnification is when we magnify self, which leads to pride, which is pride. We are constantly seeking other people's affirmation. We want to be noticed. We feel that need of being important constantly, or sometimes very strongly opinionated. We like to criticize others, but we cannot take criticism. Can be oversensitive. Those are some um, self-magnification aspects, which is pride. Or we can, diminish things, diminish the significance of something. For example, you may start off the day and think that make a list of different things that need to be accomplished, and at the end of the day, you realize I accomplished only 4. I'm such a failure, right? Instead of that, so when we recognize that, okay, this is a distortion, then we have to correct it also. So when you're correcting, you would say that maybe I was not realistic in making the list, or maybe I have to learn to manage time wisely. Let's see how tomorrow goes. I'm going to just be a little more aware of how I'm using my time and see if I'm really making these lists realistically or not, or whether I have to really learn to manage my time. Okay. Um, Another one is emotional reasoning. So in emotional reasoning, we go by feelings. Okay, because we feel in a certain way, we conclude that a non-distorted truth is the basis of that feeling. So we let emotions determine the behavior. And so something is like, I'm angry at you. And so that proves that you are cruel and you're insensitive to me. It doesn't make sense, right? But sometimes people do go by feelings. Or I'm feeling overwhelmed by the situation. So it means there's no solution for this problem. So we have to fix those. We have to again change those cognitive distortions and set it right. Another, the ninth cognitive distortion is mislabeling. These are having incorrect, irrational definitions and labeling ourselves or labeling others, right? So, for example, if somebody doesn't wash the dishes right after eating, or as they're cooking, they don't wash the dishes and keep the kitchen clean. You say, oh, she is lazy because she doesn't do that, right? The term lazy is inaccurate. It's just maybe that person might wash dishes after some time. Maybe they are really not good at doing so many things at once. And so only when we take the time maybe to talk to the person or think about it can we correct the distortion of mislabeling people, right? Or if a man doesn't, if my friend doesn't spend all her time with me, my friend is selfish. Selfish, that's the mislabeling. Okay. The last distortion is personalization. So we take things really personally. Okay, and we blame ourselves for something that maybe was not completely in our control. And it also could be that we don't see that we have done something positive, that we actually have made a difference in whatever, not accepting any credit. That comes under personalization, right? So, for example, a parent might have tried to teach their child before an exam, and then the child comes back and tells, I failed this exam. And the parent says, I'm such a failure. I really cannot teach my child. See, my child has failed, right? The parent may have done his or her best, but it also depends on the child. The child is also responsible to a certain degree of how they do at school and their how they behave. So that's an example of personalization. And so to rectify that, the parent has to accept that, well, I did my best, but maybe I need to really see if my child is paying attention to what he or she is being taught. Do they need help in certain areas? And not take it personally. All right. So these are cognitive distortions. So what do we do? How do we start practicing CBT? The first step is to listen to your thoughts. Okay. Take the time to listen, to note down, and see, what have my thoughts been? Are they realistic? Are my expectations of myself or others realistic? Am I making myself upset of something that's beyond my control? Or am I doing something constructive about this problem? And am I considering all the relevant viewpoints, or am I just seeing few things? Right? So listen to your thoughts and make sure that they are accurate, right? And then the second step is analyze and label your thoughts. So we've gone through these different distortions. See if those thoughts are real, are correct, or they fall under one of these distortions, right? So is the thought accurate? Is the thought helping me achieve my goals? Is the thought helping me feel the way I want to feel? So we do want to feel calm and peaceful. We don't want to feel frustrated and angry and upset. So if our thoughts are not correct, if our beliefs are not correct, then we are not going to have calm and peaceful feelings. Um, in order to reach to that point of being calm and peaceful, we have to really rectify the belief, the thought. And the third step, once we've analyzed and labeled our thoughts that, okay, no, I've been doing mind reading, or this thought of mine is personalization. Then what do? We reconstruct that thinking and we look for the true thought. So when the thought is right, then we will behave, or we will have the right feelings to whatever had happened, to an activating event. Okay, so define your terms. So sometimes if we might be a little confused at the thoughts, the labels we have given our thoughts. So a good practice is to go and refer to the dictionary and see, okay, is this what it really means? Um, if my thought is, okay, she is stupid, um, calmly thinking, I wouldn't think that, oh, I know what stupid means. But when I am trying to fix this whole reasoning, I'll go and check what does stupid mean and see the definition. Sometimes just going back and seeing what the definition, reading what the definition of those labels mean, makes a whole lot of difference. Okay, so don't assume anything and take time to consider. Supposing my friend had these kind of thoughts, and I had the opportunity to sit and talk with them and reason out with them, what would I tell my friend? And we can tell ourselves that same thing back. Okay. Then practice. It doesn't come to us naturally. We don't take the time to reflect, why am I behaving to a situation like this, or why am I having these negative feelings when such kind of situations occur? It is not natural. We have to take the time to sort things out, and when we understand, okay, this is what is happening, and I need to correct this and this and this, we also have to practice it. So as we practice and practice, it becomes more and more of a habit, and our emotional intelligence grows and grows. Okay, becomes stronger. So Daniel Goleman, as we saw, he was the one who made this concept of emotional intelligence popular through his book, Emotional Intelligence, Why It Can Matter More Than IQ. He gave 14 ways to identify high emotional intelligence, signs of high emotional intelligence. The first one is, so you can just go through these and, all of us can see, is this something that is true in me, or is this something that I need to develop? And we can make note of it. So the first one is curious about people you don't know. Do we just, let's say, okay, new face, wow, why should I be concerned about it? Or are we curious to say, I wonder from where they are, what they do, and to start conversing with them? That's one sign of high emotional intelligence, when we are curious about people we don't know, right? And curious as in a positive way, okay? Not to know the ins and outs, to gossip with someone, no, but just to know them as a person. The second one is accurate knowledge of our strengths and weaknesses. This is so needed for emotional intelligence. I was just thinking yesterday, and it struck me that something that we could do very easily is go through this ABC of cognitive behavior therapy for others and not do it for us. So it's very important to do it for us, right? And to know what are our strengths and what are our weaknesses. And we will know what are potential pitfalls. And then that's where we can take steps to work on it and improve. Or we know that we need help from others when we have to do something and it is our weakness, right? Or somebody needs help and it matches our strength, then we can offer our help. So very important to understand ourselves and study ourselves. The third sign of high emotional intelligence is we are able to focus without getting distracted easily. Or if something just pops up, to our train of thought, does it just get disrupted and then we get into doing that or thinking about that? It's very important to be able to focus. Another sign, when you are upset, you know why. Or do we just go about just feeling that frustration and irritation and anger just keep the thoughts swirl and swirl and swirl and swirl, and it's terrible to have a situation like that and thoughts are just swirling. But when we have high emotional intelligence, we know why we are upset. Well, that person, we were having this conversation and it was a heated conversation, and this person probably just got so into proving his point that he got angry and then screamed at you in front of so many people. You could get upset, right? But you know why. It's kind of embarrassing. Probably what he's saying is not true. But then we have to deal with it. It's okay. It's okay if other people don't understand exactly what's going on. Excuse me. And it's good to know why. Okay, it's hurting my ego, right? Most of the time that would be the truth. And we can say, okay, I can let go of this. There are times I can help rebuild people's trust in me, or however that situation is. Another fifth sign of high emotional intelligence is that you can get along with most people. Maybe there might be one or two that it's very challenging to get along with, but it's okay. You can deal with it, right? Another one is you care deeply about being a good moral person. You live by principles, and you will do nothing to go against those principles. At the same time, you will be a kind and loving person while keeping those principles. Okay, the seventh one, a highly emotional, intelligent person takes time to slow down and help others. It's so easy to get caught up in day-to-day routine, even if that routine is good and it's bringing others a lot of benefits. Still, we need to take time to slow down and think, is there somebody else who really needs help that I'm bypassing? They're in my way and I'm just not noticing. Or somebody is, sad, and we just haven't taken the time to see it in their actions, see it on their expressions. So taking time to slow down and just see that everybody is doing okay around us is a sign of emotional intelligence, and then to help them too. Good at reading people's emotions and their facial expression is also a sign of emotional intelligence. And again, I will give the warning, be careful about this and mind reading. They are two different things. Also, being a good judge of character. You don't define a person's worth, but seeing that, okay, this person has been repeatedly coming late. So this is maybe something that, if you're dealing with a project that needs to stick on to a daily consistent time schedule, you'll be careful, you'll be aware of what you assign to that person. Things like that, it's important. Truth is important to you. That is also a sign of high emotional intelligence. Without truth, we cannot deal properly with situations. We will have distortions, and it will affect us, it will affect others. The 11th one is being self-motivated. Or does somebody have to say, okay, if you do this, if you complete this, then I'll do this for you, or we'll go out and eat, or we'll go buy this. High emotional intelligence requires us to be self-motivated. Also, knowing when to say no is so important. We can get into trouble by just saying, okay, somebody asks to do this, yes. Somebody asks to do that, yes, without actually thinking about what's the impact going to be on others, on me. Do I have the time? Do I have the ability? Are the resources in place? Is this what needs to be done? Is it the right thing to do? So many things to consider. So knowing when to say no is very important. We are human beings. We make mistakes. So what happens after a fall? You're correcting a behavior and you lapse into that old behavior. Do we take responsibility for that fall, for that lapse? And do we get right back up, or do we just continue wallowing in that fall? Okay, and another sign of high emotional intelligence is of being a good leader. Excuse me. So these are some very good signs of high emotional intelligence. Take the time to go through them and deeply think, do I really need to learn some of these things? Do I have these abilities, these qualities? How can I use it to benefit my family, my community, even people that I randomly come across with? All right. So moving on to our character traits for the day. The first one is leadership. So let's go through some of these self-test questions and see whether we have leadership qualities, right? So you can either say, I strongly disagree to the statement, or disagree, I'm neutral, I agree, or strongly agree, and just keep a note, or just save it in your memory until we finish the 5 questions. Okay, the first one is, I'm often able to motivate others to act in a certain way. Now, this doesn't mean that we are manipulating people, okay? But on a set of agreed goals or a certain direction, are you able to motivate others to act in that certain direction, certain way? The second one, I often am able to help others do a better task. The third one, people generally look to me to help solve complex problems. The fourth one, I usually take charge in emergencies. I don't panic. I'm able to process things and quickly react in the right way. Fifth one, I'm a spokesperson for my group. Or do I hide? Do I ask someone to speak up for me? Well, if you have mostly agreed to these 5 statements, it means that you have good leadership qualities as it can be developed. So, what are some tips to develop leadership skills? First thing is be aware of different needs around you. Okay. And then put yourself in positions that require you to lead. Now, this might not come as an ask to directly be a leader. So people might not say, okay, we want a leader for this particular task. They might ask it as in the form of responsibility. All right. So we need to take those opportunities to be where we can lead, and that's where we can assess whether this is, how we are doing as a leader. And the first opportunity itself is not how do you say, is not the assessment to say I'm a good leader or not. You need many opportunities, and we can always grow. Another important thing is to be open-minded, to listen to what the others in that team are saying, and pay attention to feedback, whether it's positive or negative, and to be able to think through the feedback without taking things personally, and see whether that feedback really makes sense. The other is educate yourself. For that particular situation, you may need to know certain skills. You may need to know the history of what had happened before. You may even need to know the skills of those you'll be working with. So in different ways, educating ourselves. And this will require consistent education. Being a leader requires consistent education. Also, even though we may be leading a team, we still need to treat others as individuals, because everyone is different. And so in order to motivate people in the team to move forward and to achieve the goal of the team, you need to know, okay, what motivates this person? Why is this person feeling so down today? Why something looks wrong? Let me go check. And so making sure that we're treating people as individuals is important. Being humble is also very essential. It doesn't mean that just because we are a leader, everything is going to go right in that project. There might be things that, even though we put our best effort, we educated ourselves, we interacted the best with others, we paid attention to feedback, maybe still things didn't go out the way it was expected to go. And that's okay. There's always room for learning. Okay, so these are some tips to develop leadership skills. Our next character trait for today is perseverance. Do you persevere? Do you persist? Keep on trying. All right, so here's the self-test. The first statement is, I'm easily discouraged. The second one, I'm not able to work effectively toward long-term goals. It's very hard with long-term goals. The third statement, I'm not very good at meeting deadlines. The fourth one, I need lots of encouragement in order to complete things. And the fifth statement, I frequently try to avoid projects that I know will be difficult. Okay, so what have you selected? What applies to you? If you disagree mostly to these 5 statements, that means you're a person who perseveres. You don't give up easily. But what if we've strongly agreed, and it shows that to most of these questions or agree to most of these statements. That means we have to develop it. So here are some tips to develop perseverance. The first is to work on self-control. And this is a trait that we had looked on earlier. That is so important because if there's no self-control, we cannot keep persisting. Also, it requires a healthy sense of how valuable am I, right? And remember, it's a healthy self. It's not a magnified sense. It's a healthy sense. Also, we need to repel that natural inclination to give up. But sometimes we may have to quit what we are trying because it's of no value. And so having the wisdom to know when to persist and when to quit is also important. And as we keep trying things and learning things and listening to others from their experience, reading, we gain this wisdom. All right. So there are three spiritual aspects to emotional intelligence. One is truth, the second, freedom, and the third is love. So truth is being accurate in all the details and having no distortions. Freedom is in being in true freedom. Sometimes we may resort to escape from a problem by different behaviors, different addictions. That's not freedom. True freedom comes from having the truth, understanding things accurately, and correcting our thoughts when distortions arise. And then there's freedom not only for ourselves, but freedom for others, that we are not coercive. We let other people make their own choices. Even though we are influencing them, we are not manipulating them. Okay, and then there's love, the kind of love that God shows to us. The principle of seeking the benefit of others, of being willing to sacrifice so that somebody else can benefit from that. Those are three spiritual aspects that underlie emotional intelligence. So we will end with this, and I hope you will think about these different things and how truth, freedom, and love really play into being an emotionally intelligent person. All right, so this is the end of our session.